Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Qdabra's weekly webinar. Glad to have everyone here. I just want to quickly do a quick introduction. I'm going to hand the mic and the demo baton over to Elmel Clemente, who's with me, and she's been one of our leading Power App developers here over the last couple of years. I want to quickly just do a quick shout out. Mel, if you could switch to that. That window. We were very happy at MS Ignite to be chosen by Microsoft to be one of 11 charter partners for business application development. We've done dozens of these Power App, Power Platform flow solutions over the last 2 years. Microsoft's finally hit critical mass with the Power Platform this summer, and I think it was pretty evident if you went to MS Ignite in Florida a couple weeks ago. There's really a lot of buzz around this. And, you know, as form developers and as business solution builders, we have been InfoPath experts for many, many years, but we started getting into Power Platform about 2 years ago, and we've done some pretty big solutions for our customers, trying to move them off. Currently, the kind of the positioning around this is, if you've got a really complex InfoPath solution, keep it. Keep it in InfoPath Forms Viewer. You can migrate it to Forms Viewer, get off of InfoPath. But the cost of moving that solution to Power Apps would be substantial. Not to say that you couldn't do it, but you've got to move obviously create the new Power App, move the data, retrain your people. So, you know, we're saying that for any new solutions or small existing InfoPath solutions, Power Apps, Flow, and Power BI are great platforms, but you don't need to move every solution. So we do have a tool, an app that will allow you to migrate off of InfoPath without reinventing the wheel. Those existing cars will continue to run, and I just want to mention that up front. Mel, you've got the mic.
Thank you. All right, so yeah, it's been a long time since I last did a webinar for you, and I'm excited to be here again. My name is Mel Clemente, and I've been an InfoPath dev with Qdabra for almost 10 years now. So I'm actually trying to venture in this new field. This is totally new for me. I just attended the Microsoft Business App Summit last July in Seattle, and I was so happy to learn, try to learn things about Power Apps, flows, and Power BI. And this is my first webinar about Power Apps, and I would like to talk about how you're able to submit data into your SQL database. And I'm pretty sure most of you already are aware of the process. But the purpose of this webinar is something that I personally encountered, an issue with SQL triggers, to be specific. Okay, thanks, Patrick. Okay, I'm getting nervous here. We're gonna have to bear with me because again, it's been a long time. So let me try to slow down here. For the topics today, I would like to show you how you can create a Power Apps form app that connects to your SQL database in just literally 5 minutes. Yes, and that's through the help of the auto-generated template. And you're just going to select that template and configure your data connection, and there you go. And you can just, things can just get more complicated as you go, as you continue to customize your form based on your needs. Right. Oops. We go back up. Then again, I was talking about this issue that I encountered personally. You're apparently not able to submit to a SQL database table that has triggers set up. They're currently not supported, but you can work around that by using stored procedures. I'm going to show you that during the demo. And then that stored procedure will be called via flow from the Power App. Okay. Then if time allows, I'm happy to show you how you can link dropdowns to get data, the options in your dropdown list boxes from another SQL source, which is can be a SQL table from another database or what have you. Okay. So, all right. So this demo, again, I'm going to show you how you're going to build an app. And you can refer to this slide deck for the steps, but what I'd like to do is just take you through the demo so you can see how I'm doing it live. Okay. So let me jump over to my browser here. Just going to close these tabs. And here I am in the PowerApps page. You can actually, if you're in your, I'm going to try to go there. If you're in your Office 365 site, you can see the, like the Mark wants to call this the waffle, right? But it's the app launcher. And let me see if my connection cooperate with me today. But yeah, you're going to see that app launcher icon in the upper left corner. You're going to want to click on that and then select the PowerApps app right there. Then you'll be taken to this page, to the home page, what you want to do. And again, we're trying to build an app in 5 minutes, right? So we're going to click on Make This App. And again, I selected the Start from Data because I want to connect to my SQL database. And so right here, PowerApps is going to load. Load times aren't counted in that 5 minutes, by the way. So you're going to start with your data. You're going to see the options here. And I think I'm having some slow internet connection tonight. Maybe the GoToWebinar is eating up my bandwidth. But, oops, now it wants me to sign back in. Okay. And should recognize me, yep, by the icon here, and there we go. So SQL Server is not shown here by default. You're going to want to click on this icon, and in your case, if you have not added your data, your SQL Server in your PowerApps connections, you're going to have to create a new one from scratch by clicking on New Connection there, and then search for SQL Server right there, and then you're going to configure the you enter the SQL Server name there and your database name, as well as the credentials connecting to for that SQL user. Make sure that the SQL user has permissions to the database that you're going to connect to. Then you're just going to simply click Create there, and it's going to create the connection for you. I'm not going to do that because I already have an existing one here. Okay, so I'm going to pick this one. It's going to show me all my tables in that in this database. This is the demo database. And let's see here, I've got a couple items going on. And in this demo, I'd like to show you how I can create a travel requests form, because I know you've seen Hillary do the expense report. So I'd like to show you something new at least. So here, we're trying to create a travel request form. And I see a question. Okay.
Mel, I'll take care of the questions, so go ahead and focus.
Right, so we're going to...
Okay, I'll take care of the questions, so don't worry about those. Okay.
All right. So we're going to wait for PowerApps to build the app that we wanted it to build, and I didn't count the time there, but I'm pretty sure this falls under 5 minutes if my internet connection is better. But what it's trying to do is trying to connect to the data connection or the data source that we selected, which is my SQL database. To show you that in SSMS here, this is a travel requests table that I was trying to connect to. Now let's see if we got something. Okay.
Do you have to have?
So here is our automatic
in the database. Just a quick question for you. Do you have to have rows in the database when you connect to it?
No, not really. If you don't have any rows, you won't see items here by default, sample data, and we want to be able to play around with something. So I just added some sample data there. The one thing that I discovered is if your table doesn't have a primary key set, you're not going to see this plus icon, and your form, your auto-generated form, won't have the edit screen that allows you to edit and create new items. Okay, so that's important. I tried to, that's one hurdle I needed to figure out myself. So as long once your table has a primary key, let me show you, and it's just an ID that's auto incrementing by 1 right here. So as soon as I added that, set that as my primary key, then when I created the form here, now I'm able to create new items and edit. If I go to the details screen here, there's an edit pencil icon that allows me to be able to submit my changes. Okay. So again, that's there for us in 5 minutes, and it can get longer if you whatever however you want to customize this form for you. For example, this text right here is not so very friendly, so we're gonna want to change that to say travel requests, right? And what I love in PowerApps is that things auto update real time as soon as I make my changes, right? So this is our gallery view. This is what users see on form open when they open the app. So we want to show, things that make sense here. For example, travel request, who's traveling. So here, then I'm going to change this instead of the arrive to field. I want to show there the traveler name. I'm just familiar with my column names, but you're going to be too. So, and then I want to show maybe here, show the part. Let's see, I'm going to show the dates, travel dates, right? So let me see if I can. And the auto completer feature is just amazing. So I want to do the departure date time, and that shows the departure date time. I also want to show right in that row my arrival date time. So you can concatenate values here by using the ampersand. So I'm gonna say, let's add a dash in there, or let's just say 2. And another ampersand for my third value here. It's gonna be my this item dot arrival date time. Here you go. So you'll see if your formula is correct, then things are going to auto update for you down below. So this shows me my dates. Now I want to see, instead of modified by, is the locations, right? So depart from, then I'm going to do the same to this item, arrive to. There you go. Let's see if that works. Okay, that's good enough information for me. Let's try and preview. And actually, we didn't need to do that. We can see it right there. But yeah, there's your refresh button, gets added by default. There's your sort by icon by default, and I think you're gonna have to set it to whichever column you want to sort by. And there's our create new item icon, which just takes us to that edit details form, which we're gonna fix up later, like taking off things that are not valuable, or hide some stuff there that we will auto-generate or auto-populate. Clicking on this icon then shows us the details. Again, this is still part of the auto-generated app that we built from the template. Okay, so there's your trash bin icon. It's going to delete it. It's going to edit it. So what we're going to do first is just try to modify this form to show us what we really need to look at in this form, and probably order some items. So we're gonna, let's see, let's show the request date. Oops, they do. Okay, so if you go to advanced there, go to your detail screen, right? Go to your detail form. Let's minimize things here so you can see better. Now let me try to make this a little bigger for you. Okay, so I clicked on my form there, and on the left pane here, I selected that form as well. If I go to properties, and click on this data source, I can check and uncheck whichever fields I want to show or hide. And in this case, I just want to show, I just want to add into my so-called data source, as if we're an info path designer, add all these as fields in my form. And as you can see, as I check items there, they show in the view. And the way to control that is to just set the visibility right here under properties to on or off, whichever you don't need. But things like, for example, the ID I'm going to need in order to submit, right? Um, what else? Traveler name. I need that. And so let's see what I don't need. Modified by, for example, I want to set this, auto-populate this to myself as the current user trying to submit or trying to make edits and submit, right? But I don't essentially want to uncheck that because, again, I'm going to auto-populate that later. So I just want to hide it instead. So visible, set to off, and as you see, gets hidden there. And what else do I want to? I guess that's fine. So ordering then, let's show the traveler name at the very top. So it's a simple drag and drop here. Traveler name at the top, and depart from would probably be the next, and arrive to, departure date time, arrival date time. We're hiding that already. Request date, maybe you want to show the request date. Status, travel cost, the ID we want to hide, so let's just set the visibility to off as well. Okay, so that's it, and let's change this text to be something helpful.
So Mel, quick question. This looks great. So quick question for you, if you can hear me. Are you saying that the PowerApps won't automatically add the database columns, all of them? You have to do that yourself?
Not all of them. Okay. Yeah, right. Not all of them.
So would you consider that another limitation?
I guess that's it by default, because if they've added all your, if you have gazillion columns there, this form will really, by default, get long, right? So they maybe provide, I'm not sure, like 10 columns by default there, and it's up to you if you want to remove or add.
But it sounds like you need them when you're creating a new record, so they really need to be added to the app, even though they might not be visible, right?
Right, for things like, for example, an ID, if you want to auto-generate it, or modify date, time, those kind of stuff. If they're not being updated server side and the app needs to, populate the values for those, they need to be the so-called data card, or we can call them as fields, as in InfoPath terms. They need to be in here. And then you can just control the visibility.
Cool.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks. It looks like they're not putting spaces in between the camel case where, like, traveler space name, it's not automatically inserting those either. Is that right?
Right. So you're going to have to manually modify them too. And these things are locked by default, so you're going to have to unlock, even if it's just label changes. So like right here, it's taking the parent display name, and I wanted to just say something like that. There you go. So again, if I want to do it from here, I need to first unlock and then change this one to be the text that I want. I'm not sure if you can call that limitation. Maybe they can automate that, somehow. But yeah, they don't watch for the camel case. Cool.
Cool.
Okay then, and one more gotcha here is whatever changes you make in the detail screen, because the form has like a display mode, whether it's a view only or an edit form, right? So in this case, this is a view only form. There's another form down here in the edit screen. That is the edit form, which shows you the editable controls. And whatever changes you made in your detailed form, you would want to make it in the edit form as well, right? So you're going to do the same ordering and what have you. So I'm going to select from here, and let's see, traveler name may not be. So like right here in the edit form screen, I don't have my traveler name added, but I need to populate that with my current, with my information, right? So I'm gonna have to check this, select it, so it gets added down there. Then I'm just gonna control the visibility to off. Okay. So that's one gotcha, and let's actually try to fix this because we're gonna want to be able to submit. And I'm just going to do the same thing I did before. So depart from arrive to.
Do you want to show the completed one? Do you have that one already prepared?
I didn't actually, no, I didn't finalize that one. So let's just do this then. It's going to be fast. Okay, so these, I'm going to hide these. Don't need that when they're filling out the form. Request date, I'm going to auto-populate. Status, I'm going to auto-populate. So, okay. All right. Okay, this looks good to me. And then let's see. Let's now try to do something. So I'm going to try to run this app. And we already saw looking at the details, and we made the changes in the detail screen. Let me try to edit this guy and say he's going to come from Seattle to New York. And let's look at my database right now. So I selected John Smith, this guy here. So my record shows the depart from field is Manila, right? If I check this, then submit that, it should update that record and take me back to the gallery where I can see my changes, or to the details at least. And now it's changed right there. If I go back to the gallery, it's gonna show that change as well. So we know that edit works, and it should be the same with creating a new item. So if I do, I'm not sure, where am I coming from Japan to Canada maybe. Specify my dates here. Click OK. And all right, click OK again. Let's pick some time here. Okay, and then submit it. Then once it gets submitted, they click on that yet. Let's do it again. Okay, we'll be taken to the gallery, and now we can see and we didn't populate my name right there. So what I'm gonna do is, if we refresh our database here, we'll see the new record, and it's missing the traveler name because I didn't have any auto-populate rules there, some logic there to set that. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do next. So let's see here. We want to do that for every time the user creates a new item, right? So in here, after the form, after you click on this icon, it's gonna take you to the new form, to the new form mode of the edit form one. That's my form, right? And then we're gonna set a variable here. So when you're setting global variables, you use the function, the set function, right? And so we're going to name the variable current user. Let's just do this, current user. And the value would be coming from, let's just close this, coming from the user function. And I want my full name in there. Okay. And then we navigate to the next screen. And the way that I debug stuff in here, because I can't see what the value of that variable is going to be, right? But I know that it's going to take me to my edit screen. So from here, I'm going to add a label. So insert label, and then I'm just gonna let that label show me the value that got stored in my variable, like so. Okay, and right now I don't see any value yet because I haven't clicked on that plus icon live yet. So let's try this in preview. Let's click on the plus icon, and now it shows my name down there. Pulls it automatically based on the account that I'm logged in with. Okay, so I'm going to use this as the traveler information. Right, so now I can delete this. I know that I'm returning the correct value. So back in my gallery, then so after I've set my variable there, going back to my edit form, looking at the traveler data card, which I don't have a good name. Let's see where that is. I think this is the one. So it's best practice to name your stuff in here so you don't get confused. Like right there, data card 3, if I click on that and I look at the advanced settings, it shows me that it's traveler name. So I hit the right one, although it's hidden. What I want to do is I want to unlock this, and I want to go to properties, and let's see. I think what I want to do is go in here and go in the, yeah, right here, the actual value of the data card. So I want this to store the value that I have stored in the current user. Okay, does that make sense? Now I'm going to try to, let's see how to test that. So I should probably do the same for the edit form, right? Coming from here, this edit icon, not really. So I wanted to edit that record that I submitted, but apparently if it's already submitted with the traveler name, you don't want to you don't want to be able to edit that anyway. So I can show you that if I create a new item. But what I want to do right now is switch over to the issue that I was talking about, the issue with the triggers. So for example, you have your database have triggers for you're using for something, right? Like right here, I have a trigger, and this one is logging the history. So if I just modify this and show you the script real quick, it's gonna, for any changes, for any modifications or new items that I submit to the travel requests table, it's going to insert an entry into my travel request history table. Okay. And right now, let me show you what I have going on in that table. It's just history of my tests, my previous tests. But that's what I want that trigger to do. In your case, you might have something else, right? But this is just for demo purposes. So I have some data there. I'm grabbing the travel request ID, when it's modified or submitted or whatnot, and then who modified it, and then the status at that time. So you're seeing it disabled right now, and that's why I'm able to submit to this travel requests table, because that's disabled. But the moment I enable that, and I'm going to do so by running the script, okay, I'm going to enable it, and let's see, that's done. Let me refresh here. So now that's active. And any edits that I do, if I, let's see, let me close this out. We go here. So I'm just going to manually modify this record that I just submitted. I'm going to edit it in the database. And we'll see now, if I tab out and refresh my history, my travel request history table. Right now, I don't have any record for travel request ID 4. I'm going to execute. And the trigger logged that history for me. Okay, and it didn't specify the modified by there or the status. I didn't pass those in. But yeah, we got a record there. My trigger is running, right? But how about in our Power Apps form? If I go ahead and preview this again now and try to make changes to this item, and should have refreshed with my name right here. Let's try that. Okay, right there. So if I look at this and edit it and try to change, for example, the travel cost now to 2,400 and save it, it's going to show an error. And it's not a very helpful error message. An error occurred on the server. And you don't know why. And you close that out, and you close that out, you go back to the designer, and you're going to see that you now have this red X. An error occurred on the server, not very helpful information. So we discovered that it's a trigger causing that, and apparently triggers aren't currently supported. So what the workaround there is, let me disable this back so I can be able to submit even even if the trigger is there, it's just temporarily disabled. Let me refresh here to show you. So what we're doing is, instead of a trigger, we're using a stored procedure, and this one right here. So showing you the script, it basically does the same thing, except that it is a stored procedure. Okay, so it will log any edits, any new items, modifications to the rows into my travel request history table. Okay, so what we're doing, the stored procedures, we're passing in the travel request ID, who modified it, and the status into those parameters. And then whatever the values in those parameters are, we insert into the travel request history with those mapped columns. Okay, so there's our stored procedure. And how do we tell PowerApps to run or to execute that SQL stored procedure? So right here in my submit icon, I can go to action and then click flow. So we're going to use a Microsoft flow for this. So you click flow there, and it's going to try and look for your existing flow. I've got one there set up, but for the purposes of this demo, let's create a new one. It's going to take you to your flow page. And by default, it's going to name this flow the Power Apps button because that's the source. But you can, first thing you do is you rename it here, because if you rename it later on, I discovered that bindings get lost somehow. So let's see, log history demo, and then you'll see here that it's being called, or this flow is created from Power Apps. No need to touch that. What we're going to want to do is create a new step. And the step we want is going to be a SQL Server action, so we can filter on the long list of actions. Type in SQL Server there, and here's where you can see execute stored procedure. Okay, you click on that, and it's asking for the name of your stored procedure. This is the one that I want, and then it's going to show you the mapping. So these are the parameters that I showed you in the SQL Server Management Studio earlier. So what value do we want to pass into these parameters? So we're going to ask PowerApps. I want my PowerApps form to be able to supply the information into those parameters, into that stored procedure. So it's going to be the same as with modified by, asking PowerApps status ask in PowerApps. And that's all there is to it. You save it, and then you're good to go. It says save there, and if I go back in here, just click OK there. It's the warning that you're leaving the page. Right now we haven't run anything yet, so no, nothing in the history. But as soon as we go back to our PowerApps Studio, now we see that new flow that we just created. We're going to select that then. It's going to add it to our form, to our app. Then it says complete flows parameters in the formula bar. So in our check icon there, it automatically added our run command, and then waiting for us to map the values we want to pass into those parameters. Okay. So for the ID, I want to return the ID. I think no. So this is a little tedious here. We're gonna have to look for the data card value field, and that's why it's very helpful to name your items right before or as you go. So now I need to look at my ID card, which is, let's see, let me just try, and which I haven't added actually, and I need that. So let me check this one. So we got our ID and we know it's 4. So we go to that data card then, and we take this one, the data card value. We copy that name, or if you want, you can rename it right here now. So this is my travel request ID, right? So I copy that name. Now going back to my submit icon, what I want to pass into the parameter is the travel request ID dot text. Okay. And then onto the next parameter there, modified by. Let's see if I have the modified by column added. I do, and it's the one right here. So if you ever get lost in your, in your left pane here with the fields, you can go to, click on one of these guys, go to properties in the card pane and click edit. It's going to show you all of the columns, and whatever you need to see, you click on that, and it takes you to that item on the left pane. So if I, for example, arrival date time, it's gonna switch me, the focus on that left pane. So what I need is the modified by. So let's go back there. This is my data card, and I need this one. While I'm here, I'm just gonna rename it modified by value. And I'm not naming things consistently, but you get the idea. So going back here again, mapping to that second parameter is the value dot text. Now one last is the status, and right here I can already see which status card or which data card I need. It's the one right here. Status value. Okay. And going back one last. Dot text. Okay. So no errors there. We're all good. What we want to do is we want to hide this guy. Don't need it on this view. We also want to populate the modified by value. So going to that card then, to that value card, let's unlock and set the default to be, or whatever we're storing in the current user, var current user variable. It's going to be the same, right? And what else? The status we want to update, probably update. So by default, let's see, let me think here. By default, this should be submitted as soon as we added it, right? So let me see. So I think from it should go here as well. So we're going to add another set function here, and oops, and we're going to add another variable, and this is going to run for all new items because I'm doing this in the plus sign. And the status I want by default will be submitted. In these kinds of forms, you're going to have a workflow, it's going to go through approval, and you're going to want to change the status in those kind of situations. But right now, I'm setting it as submitted for new items. Okay, so let's see. Let's see what we did. We already changed this edit form submit to do the to run the flow stored procedure. And to show this working, first I need to re-enable this trigger. So you can see that even if it's enabled, let me think. No. We need to keep it disabled. Sorry about that. So again, we disable the trigger. It's as if removing it totally from our table and using stored procedures instead. So that's what we're doing. All right. So now let's go to our initial screen. And let's play and modify my item here again. And this time I'm going to change my departure date time to be, oh, it's actually best date, to be on the 15th. Okay. And let's see where we're at. Okay. Right now, refresh here. We've got 5 records in the history. We've got our departure date to be on the 24th. Those should all change, and let's see what happens. Did something happen? Looks like I didn't see the marching red ends, but let's look at our flow. Let's see all and just go back so it refreshes. Nothing seemed to have run, and I wonder why. Let's check this. There's something wrong. Okay, looks like we have some modified by. I thought I changed this modified by value dot text. It's throwing something about this one, modified by value dot text.
Is it because you have a
Let's
capital
look.
L in there? No.
Do I?
Is it case sensitive? You have a capital L.
It's not capital in the value.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It looked like it was.
No. Modified by value dot text. And it should already add that error now. But let's see.
Did you set it? Did you set it in the? Did you set the modified by property?
Let's see. I'm gonna add a label here. We set it. We set the variable, right? So let's see. The text will be the modified by value dot text. Is it not liking that? So coming from yeah, I think we're not setting it there. Let's see. From here, we're going to just do what we're doing here in the variable. Maybe we want to do this on start, but adding something on start will require closing and reopening the app, so we're not going to do that. I'm just going to add it. Actually, I'm going to add it in the edit icon. Okay. Okay, and then so we're doing that there then, and then for modified by card, where is it? Right here, we have our var current user. Okay, and we're showing it in the label as well. So let's see.
We're running out of time, Mel, so if you could wrap up, that'd be great.
Yeah. Looks like I'm not getting anything for modified by there. So what let's see, let's edit this. Okay, right there. And just try to make that change again. And let's try to run this again. Changing this to 15th and submitting. And refreshing here. Okay, it's not doing it. So maybe I can show you what I have going on here instead. But this is an ugly form. Let's see here. Delete this guy. Um, all right. Okay, so this one I'm going to edit. Let's actually refresh the data. It looks like it still has old data there. And this one is running the other flow. I'll try and edit this. And I'm going to change the depart from. You'll see here that I changed the depart from field there into a drop-down list box that's coming from another source. That's the bonus item that I would like to show you. But now that I edited that, and now I'm going to click the submit button. Looks like it did something. So let's go to our flow, which is the other one. The one doesn't have the demo, this one here. And let's look at the logs. So here we have one that succeeded, and let's look at that. And actually, while it's doing that, let's refresh my history table, which is, where is it? Refresh it here. And there's our last item. Is it? Yeah, we passed in those values here. So what happened in the flow, it ran the stored procedure and it passed those parameters. I modified the report travel request with ID 4. Modified by was passed in the parameter. I'm not sure what's going on in our other app, and the status being submitted. So that run correctly. I'm gonna just try and look at it online offline, and if you have questions, yeah, I'd be happy to do it in the email. Sorry, we ran out of time here.
So let's summarize, Mel. So today, really, the goal was to show people how to connect a Power App to SQL, and also highlight a couple of the gotchas. One of the gotchas being the triggers, another gotcha being the fact that the fields aren't added automatically to the views. Other things that you want to mention in terms of gotchas or limitations that you ran into?
That's it so far. Again, the on-screen on-start action I've already mentioned. When you start or when you add um, something here in the first screen, in your initial screen, because you might want to do something that automatically detects the currently logged in user. You always want to do it on your first screen on start property. Like I wanted to do my set variable here, right? So for example, my current user email this time, and by the way, you can make use of those by using the user function this time. I want the email. value, right? So you want to do that on start, but you're not gonna see that real time until you close the app, like go to File and close. First, of course, you're gonna have to save it first, closed, and then reopen it back there. So for that, yeah.
So for those of you, thank you for staying with us. I know we kind of got into the weeds a bit today with the demo, but hopefully that was useful. I know at least one of you chimed in saying it was, so that's great. We'll make the video available and the slide deck as well, and we hope to be doing more Power App Flow and Power BI demos, webinars in the near future. In fact, we'll probably do one on Power BI later this month and come back to Power Apps. Anytime we hit an issue, we'd love to share it with you, and that's why we did this Power App demo webinar today. We did training around this time last year for Power Apps and Flow. Unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to revamp our training. Microsoft keeps changing the way things look. But if you're interested in training, do let me know, because if we get enough people, it might make sense to revamp the content. So anyway, thanks again for being here, and Mel, thanks you for doing the webinar today. Any questions for
Yeah,
us?
thank you.
Just wait. We'll wait 30 seconds here and see if you have any questions. And it looks like maybe there are no questions. There's one from Alan. Thank you, Alan. It looks like he's saying, good job, Mel. Well done, even though there was a problem. It's always nice to be able to work
Thank
through
you.
the problems, because then you show people, you give people that learning opportunity. So to reiterate then, the issue you had, Mel, was you weren't setting it on start. Is that right?
That's probably just one of the workarounds, but I'm still not sure what went wrong there when it's working in other, test app.
And Mark's got a question. Using Power Apps for config files, can I add primary key afterwards? You want to take
I'm
that, Mel?
sorry, sir.
Yeah,
Say that again, please.
using Power Apps for config files, can I add primary key afterwards?
Mm, I'm not sure if it's SQL side. Can you add primary key afterwards when you already have data in there? They do need to have a value, right?
Right, so I guess the answer would be no, Mark.
Yeah.
Please add it first, or recreate the table maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know we're running out of time. I really appreciate people sticking around. If you have questions for Mel, please email support@qdabra.com. And
Yes.
thanks again for being here. We look forward to seeing you next week or the following week. Have a great day.
Hi, everyone. Thanks.